It's a miracle. After almost a year and a half, CNN appears to have been cured from Trump derangement syndrome. When I turned on the TV last night, this is what I saw.
Here's our breaking news right now. Hurricane Florence, an extremely dangerous monster Category 4 storm taking aim at the Carolinas. More than 1 million people ordered to evacuate. We're watching the path of the storm, and we'll be getting a brand new update on the path and the severity of the hurricane. It's going to come during this show, so stay with us. You want to stay tuned for that. We're going to give you some new updates on this. It's major.
This really is amazing. It's bringing me back to my childhood in the 1990s when CNN was a news network. Don, what important details should Americans know about this huge storm?
It comes as a storm of paranoia, by the way, is battering the White House tonight, just hours away from the release of Bob Woodward's book, that book called Fear that we have been discussing here. The publisher says it is printing 1 million copies to keep up with demand in the wake of a...
Well, apparently they're not cured. Their Trump derangement syndrome just went into remission for about 30 seconds before they got back to their latest talking points, Bob Woodward's new book, Fear. And here comes the rest of the Mockingbird media repeating these same exact talking points.
The latest book on the Trump White House paints an ugly picture of the current presidency. Bob Woodward, whose reporting helped bring down President Richard Nixon, says Chief of Staff John Kelly said we're in crazy town.
I think he was probably talking about the Democrat Party being in crazy town because you guys have all completely lost it.
In the meantime, next this Tuesday evening to another storm swirling tonight, this time the explosive new book about President Trump and the White House. It's called Fear, and in it, author Bob Woodward revealing for the first time that the president reportedly took part in a practice drill for a possible interview with the special counsel. Woodward reports his lawyers were so concerned they made their case to Robert Mueller themselves, saying the president should not be questioned. Well, tonight here, the president and his team are now denying what's being reported in this new and explosive book.
I'm sure this is going to be the book to finally bring him down. Let's see what kind of hyperbolic adjectives NBC News uses to describe this waste of paper.
Let's turn now to that explosive new book from legendary Washington Post journalist Bob Woodward. He knows a thing or two about reporting on White Houses, past and present, and his latest is already sending shockwaves far beyond Washington. It paints a portrait of a White House deeply alarmed by the boss's behavior. Let's get more on it from NBC's Kristen Welker.
Certainly NBC News is going to be original in how they describe this work of fiction, right? They wouldn't copy the same talking points as CBS and ABC and call it an explosive new book, would they?
In his explosive new book, Bob Woodward describes the Trump presidency in the midst of a nervous breakdown. Excerpts first obtained by the Washington Post quote aides calling it crazy town, at times paralyzed by the Russia investigation.
What's especially hilarious about this is this book appears to be the ace the Democrats had up their sleeve, because Bob Woodward's reporting brought down Richard Nixon, and they were hoping that it was going to bring down Trump as well. Except they apparently didn't check their calendar because an October surprise is not supposed to be released until the end of October, about a week before the election. It's still September, morons! By the time the midterms roll around, nobody's going to remember that this book even exists. Just like that one written by that creepy-looking guy a few months ago, and that other one written by that angry black woman who spent the last few seconds of her 15 minutes of fame on The View yesterday, coming up with probably the dumbest analogy I've heard in my entire life.
When you're in an interpersonal relationship with somebody, if you find out that that person is an arsonist, you're not going to stand by and keep handing them gasoline. I discovered that Donald Trump was an arsonist trying to burn down this country. And at some way, I was complicit handing him matches and giving him more fuel for his fires. Sure. At some point, you have to stop a toxic relationship. I was in a toxic relationship with Donald Trump, and I regret that I was so complicit. You know,
I know you gotta try to come up with at least something to say when you're on a talk show, but at least try to sound somewhat intelligent. I mean, what are you gonna do next? Say that Hillary Clinton was robbed from the election?
You know, Hillary Clinton was robbed. And I was part of co-conspirator in that robbery. And I will regret that for the
I didn't know that Omarosa was into stand-up. At least Bob Woodward got the title of his book right, Fear. Because that's what those with Trump derangement syndrome are filled with. Tell us, Egghead McMuffin, what are you afraid of?
We have to be concerned about the president's access to information, but what I'm more concerned about is what he will do with his power. Will he, it may be the power to thumb a 180-character tweet that triggers conflict or the preparations for conflict. It may be that he authorizes a military action that is then executed that was ill-informed and unwise, that triggers a broader conflict. That's what I'm more worried about.
Speaking of being ill-informed, that's what MSNBC specializes in. In other news, leaked emails from Google executives reveal that they made a, quote, silent donation to Hillary Clinton's campaign by trying to turn out Latino voters for Hillary Clinton. You know, we were willing to let bygones be bygones after the 2016 election, but now maybe it's time to take a close look at what the Clinton crime syndicate did in hopes of defeating Donald Trump. Not to mention what the big tech companies are doing today to try to censor and silence conservatives as the 2018 midterm elections rapidly approach. Go to MarkDice.com or click the link in the description below to order your Ronald Reagan Donald Trump shirt from my online store. Your purchase helps keep this channel going, so I appreciate your support. All sorts of other cool stuff there too, like the vintage Abraham Lincoln Trump shirt. All of them are available in multiple different colors and styles, t-shirt, long sleeve, and hoodie. So thanks for all your support. Check back tomorrow for a new report, and I will see you soon.